Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we'll make a custom stainless steel stencil. When it comes to making custom stencils, we can literally make them out of any material. Polycarbonate is a favorite, so is Mylar, and so is stainless steel. The reason we don't generally make them out of mild steel is because it tends to flash rust. It doesn't really affect the use of the stencil, it's just an aesthetic sort of thing. So here we have a stainless steel version of a stencil. In this case here it was Waterjet Cut. We have a couple of different technologies in the shop to do this. One is Waterjet, the other one is laser, the other one is router. So it really depends on the design as to which one we're going to use. It also depends on the material. I often get asked by customers, how can we use one machine over another for similar looking projects? And yet at the end of the day, there's quite a few things that go into that decision. In this case here, we're cutting stainless steel. So when we're doing stainless steel, we could use a plasma, we could use the laser, or we can use Waterjet as what you see here. The nice thing about stainless steel is that it doesn't rust on you. So that's the advantage of it with the Waterjet, because if we're using, let's say, mild steel, you get flash rusting almost immediately after it's taken off the bed. With this material here, basically any sort of thickness works fine, either machine. The decision then goes on to, okay, material doesn't matter. Now what about the design itself? In this case here, we have some very, very fine details. So when you have very, very fine details, the curve of the plasma is a little bit wider than it is for the Waterjet, and the laser is even thinner. So in that case there, this project could have been done with, has been done with the Waterjet, obviously, but it could have also been done with the laser, and the results would pretty much be identical. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Only because it's a different CNC platform doesn't mean you have more or less accuracy. I have a shop-bought desktop, which is a small machine that's about 15 years old, and it's just as accurate as a huge thermowood I have that's worth, exponentially more money, and they're both CNC routers. But you also get the same precision with the Waterjet as you get with the laser, as you get with everything else. So they're very much interchangeable. Now let's say this project here needed something that was done where you had a very large amount of cutting in a very small area, of the stencil or what have you. In that case there, the Waterjet will win over the laser, but just because you don't have the heat affected zones. Especially if you have something that's thicker. The thicker it is, the more dwell time there is on the head. So that means when the laser is cutting through, it's producing heat. Obviously it's vaporizing the metal, but there's also heat being, spread out over that cut area. And that generates heat and can also warp the material, especially for the plasma. That's really hot process and it spreads out a lot more. But the Waterjet is a cold process, so that means you don't have that issue whatsoever. So let's say this stencil was 1 inch thick. Definitely the Waterjet will win over pretty much every other machinery if there's very fine details. If it's just something the customer says, I want to cut fast, cheap, and I don't care, and there's no very highly detailed parts, well then, yeah, the plasma is totally fine. It would actually be a lot faster than the Waterjet. So there's a lot of variables involved with decision picking one machine over another, but you have to keep in mind, we have all of them, so we can pick the best machine for the project. Something you want to keep in mind with stencils, regardless of the material or the process that we use to make them, is that you always want to have inner parts supported. You also want to have the stencil in general supported. So in this case here, we had this long rope thing here. And what I did is I added supports here and here, of course one here as well to mirror it. And the reason for that is because the last thing you want to do, even with stainless steel, if you go like this here and you start to have pieces sort of flop down and that kind of stuff, it really affects the durability of the overall stencil. So I like to make them a little bit stronger than they need to be so that the customer could literally just drop these onto, in this case here, the barrel head, and use a flame or a torch and mark this onto the head and then move it on to the next one. Now for this one here, you can tell it's Waterjet just by the edge quality. But you got to keep in mind that regardless of whether it's laser, router, Waterjet, what have you, they all have the same sort of accuracy when it comes to making this kind of stuff. So if you're looking for a custom stencil, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll make it for you and ship it right to your door.